This morning I am sitting down with Aaron to discuss the message of the Sermon on the Mount. The big idea of this message is that Jesus is challenging us to live as salt and light. Salt is used to stop decay, and light is intended to illuminate the darkness. The first question has to do with being salt. You read a quote from John Stott that said, probably the greatest tragedy of the church throughout its long and checkered history has been its constant tendency to conform to the prevailing culture instead of developing a Christian counterculture. Can you talk about this a bit more in detail? And what does it look like to be in the world but stand out from the world?
Yeah, I mean, I love that quote from John Stott, and I feel that even in my own heart at times, wanting to look like and be like and to fit in, it's just kind of, it's our human nature that we don't want to stand out. But it's one of the prevailing thoughts, like you said, in the entire Sermon on the Mount, all 3 chapters of Matthew is Jesus continuing to call us out to stand apart, to be separate, to do something different, to act different, to look different, to feel different. And this passage here is so amazing. Those metaphors of being salt and being light, by definition, that means we stand apart. We talked in the message about this is our identity. Who are we as children of God? We are salt and we are light. And I think so oftentimes we try to blend in. We think that, I even shared it in the message, we think that, we're supposed to be like salt amongst sugar. Like we look like it, you can only tell if you taste it, same thing with like navy blue and black, Jesus didn't call us to be navy blue in a black, dark world. Like, I think that's navy blue. I'm not quite sure. He calls us to be something radically different.
Right.
And that is the life of a Christian. And Jesus says, and we're going to get to it a little bit later on, that because of that, we will be persecuted. And we even talked about it during the Beatitudes, that those that are persecuted because of being the salt and light are those who are approved and blessed by God. So, that is, I think for me, one of the greatest challenges in God's word, that we would stand apart. How do we do that? How do we be that salt? How do we be that preservative that stops the decay in our world? It's a huge challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You brought up Sharon on stage with her, being salt in a Boy Scout troop. Yep. And can you share with us some ways that you maybe have tried to be salt and light? I know I try with my POM team to really just be positive and be that salt and light, but how do you do it?
Yeah. I know we were sharing right before that we rolled with video, and just it's kind of the messiness that sometimes it is, right? And one of the greatest things about that metaphor of salt is that it needs to be driven into the meat to be that preservative. If you just set it apart, it's doing nothing. Like it's got to be driven in. And so I love Sharon's testimony, kind of hearing about, what you're doing with your girls and just being that positivity, being that light. And for me, I've had a lot of opportunities, my family and I, to be a part of a lot of things that our kids are doing. They're getting a little bit older now, so we're trying to find different ways that we can kind of fit into being that salt and light. But I was a gymnastics coach. I don't know anything about gymnastics. I know nothing, but I was a gymnastics coach for about 18 months while my son was going through it. The Booster Club's president for my son's orchestra at high school. And again, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's just that opportunity to be in the world and to just be that light, to be that salt, to not even just have a platform to say, hey, Jesus Christ died for you. That's an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. But just to have interactions with people that can see you living differently, see that your marriage is different, see the way you parent is different, see that the way you respond to world events is different. And just to have that presence of godliness in the world is part of what that means of being salt and being light.
Absolutely.
So I love what Sharon shared, and even your story of Palm. It's so great.
Oh, thanks. So at the end of the message, you shared that we need to stop focusing on the sin of the world and focus on being the light in the world. Yeah. But with so much around us being sinful, how do we not focus on the sin? And how do we maintain being the light when there is so much darkness?
Yeah. I think that's one of our great challenges too, because we live in a world right now, particularly, that is so politicized, it's so polarized, and so many entities. It's hard for us to just be the light. And I shared in the message, a conversation I had about trying to make other people via politics or via control or via some outward pressure, make the world live differently than what they are. Try to make the world live as they are children of the light. We can't do that. That's not our job. Right. Our job, as we shared in the message, to simply point them to Jesus. Jesus is the only one that can change them. Absolutely. So when we look at people that have identity issues, when we look at people that have all sorts of addictions, when we look at people that are just living differently than ours, our natural tendency is to be like, you need to change. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they do need to change. But the first change is they need belief in Jesus Christ and they need faith in him. So I think for Christians in general, what I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years is just a poignant thing we need to grab hold of is stop focusing on the sin of the world. Mm-hmm. God will take care of that. He's just and he's also forgiving. He will deal with that. It is our job to simply share Christ with others and to share what he's done for us, how he's broken our addictions, how he's breaking our addictions, because a lot of times it's not past tense yet, right? And how he's working through our lives and showing that light to that world. And I think if we can start to grab a hold of that as Christians, we can start having a better influence in our world as opposed to people hate us because we are always telling them, you're wrong.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for Coffee Talk. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below this video and feel free to post. And then we'd love to hear from you. We hope you have a great week and we'll see you later.